And good morning. Good morning, everyone. Gonna hop right into it. Let's see. Haven't done anything with this since last time. Let's see, where are we at here? We got cargo running. That works. I got my music up too loud. Let me turn that down just a bit. There we go. Oh, and the glasses. I forgot my glasses. There we go. Are they dirty? Just a touch. How's everyone doing? Have a good week. Made it past Wednesday. Couple more days to the weekend. You know what? I think this is listening to the wrong audio input. Let me double check on that. It's catching a lot of the puffs. It's on crisp. Crisp is enabled. Odd. All right. It's just a little hot today. The mic. Let's see how it goes. See? It should be okay. But who knows? Anyhow. Mitch is going. We're going to get going. So, where did we end up? Let's see. What's this? Oh, yes. Added heck. And we have some tests. Now, I got rid of tinyvec in pursuit of just using arrays. So let's go over this. What we're going to have is some decorators here. Right? We'll say, hey, this is this route. And this one is this route. Right? So we'll have these functions that have these handlers. And in this case, there is no variable in the URL, like so. In this one, there is a variable, and that would get passed. And I don't know which order I should do this. I think I should probably do the HTTP request first, and then everything else. We'll see. Not quite sure on this. Hey, good morning. Okay. That is a very good joke. You're right. We got some bad ones, though. Let's see. What do we got? What's the opposite of a hot pepper? A little chili. Ta-dunch. How you doing? Good morning. Yeah. And this here is our unit test. And, okay. For example, we're going to have some sort of incoming request, HTTP request. We're building these from, the Cloudflare event that we get passed in. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to have routes work this way. Because we could build, let's say, a router, right? And just pass it the request and get a response out. And I like that a bit better because all of this could be stuffed up into that. It does look like some Rocket shenanigans. That is directly inspired from Rocket. I like the look of how Rocket does theirs, and I went to go look at it. I'm like, okay, yeah, we could do something like that. Um, Part of the complexity here is that we can't use regex. Regex adds about 700 kilobytes to the binary or to the WASM. So we're not using regex, and we're trying to do things slightly different. Rocket, can we do it without falling into nightly? No. No, we're already stuck in nightly. Mostly because of... can we use JS's regex? And that's a really great idea, Xenocron. That is a really, really good idea. Morning. Totally not a spam bot. How you doing? But that's not the reason we're stuck in nightly. We're stuck in nightly because I wanted the better... I wanted to be able to use diagnostic from here. Where is it? I wanted to be able to use this. And this is what's going to hold us in nightly, not the rest. Yeah, you can use anything from JavaScript. And I can show you how we're already doing that. Let me see. So we have 3 crates right now. We have mimeograph CodeGen. CodeGen does the proc macros. And then we have mimeograph parts, right? Parts in the machine. And these would be things that CodeGen actually needs as well. But if we look at this, you can extern see some types. So this is the event type that we get from the JavaScript environment. So in this case, we defined a getter, and this getter is bound to this event object. This event is off of a request. Man, I'm saying this backwards. We have an event object. It has a method request. It has a method kind, and these are getters for those properties on that object. You can always just have. You can also, if we wanted to, we could set this up for, say, a regex event. Regex type pub type regex. Okay, and then we could have a WASM bit here. And we could have, instead of a getter, just say this is a method and have pub type or pub function match, right? And this would return whatever the type was that, that match returns on regex. Now, this is like a really cool idea, and I really, really like this idea. However, because of the way that our handler works and that our handler might get fired up for every request, I would like to do more at compile time. So while we could use regex there, initializing regex matchers can take time. So if we can do this in a macro and generate stuff ahead of time, then we might win out on this. Because using regex and initializing regex actually introduces more time to our cold start. So we come back into CodeGen. We have some verbs, and also this is heavily inspired by Rocket. I think all I did was rename this. And some of these elements, I went for like uppercase here. Uh, we do deviate from the way that Rocket works because Rocket can have that cold start time for the regex matcher, which is fine. Now we can get rid of this. Now, the way that this works here, our route, where to go? Cogen route is our route attribute. And we parse the route, and then we unwrap and emit. See, this is part of um, the diagnostic bits that are just, it makes output from macros so much better because you can include help sections. Like if you decide that, um, like here, we say, oh, you know what? This route segment may not be empty. So if somebody did decide that on this, they had one of these that, and they forgot to put that in, then we get a certain error, right? And in this case, with using diagnostics, you could actually give them a suggestion of how to fix it. And you can't do that normally. So we might get to the point where we find, oh, you know what, that was a great idea, but we're not using that. Let's step back out of nightly, but I don't want to start there. That nightly hasn't been all that bad, right? I mean, we're not using nightly features left and right, so I think we're okay. So what a route does, when this happens, we end up generating a wrapper function, a function that will call this function. And part of what we need to do in that function is to create some sort of matcher, something that will receive something that is kind of pre-broken down from the request URL path section and can match against that. Does that make sense? For example, let's step into this. I think I'm going to go into this and say we want router. We don't want routes. And this is just going to be a function. What sort of function should this be? Function, it's going to take a request with some type there, and it is going to return probably a result with an HTTP response. Also, just using unit there for now. And we don't really have an error type. So I've been using box, dyn, standard, error. It's not like we have to be super fast when an error happens. Those are supposed to be exceptional, so they don't have to be in the fast path. So router should return something like this, and then we should be able to say router or match router with a request. And this here is going away. How do I comment this out with GC? I mean, I could v GC like that. I hit F8 that time. Now in this case, we would have, okay. Actually, what do we expect this to do? In lib over here, this is where it ends up getting called. And that's going to pass a result back to JavaScript. So we need a Cloudflare response. We need to be able to convert everything back into a response. So in this case, we return response. If there's an error, we need to be able to convert that error into something else. See this crate doesn't know what Cloudflare is. Now, let's leave that just as a to-do. I don't want to do that yet. This is just a test file. I'm using this to get all the types matching up with the macros. All right, let's change this here. Now this router, it had been routes. Let's go ahead and change that to router. You know what? I'm going to do a git. We're just going to commit stuff. We don't need that. Yes. This section, this section, this section, that goes away. This here is used for cargo expand, so we can take a peek at the expanded code. Just toss whichever tests we want to see in this file and use a cargo expand on it. All right, there's router. Let's stream over this. Okay. Let's close that. Oh, it didn't do it. Oh, source router. Oh, that's the old one. We should get rid of those. Okay. Yeah, that does exist. Waking up. All right. All right. So that's there. We're going to be fine with that. Here's our routes macro. We're prefixing with this. We give it that array. In here, prefixed array, we need to take the output of this and wrap it in our matcher. Let's see, a function. Now, what do we get in this case? We will take, we could take a token stream or a token stream 2. Let's say this is the array. It's going to be a token stream because it's what it's going to be here. Arguably, this could be preserved as a token stream 2 for now. Let's say it's a 2. Okay. Then we will call router matcher. We will pass it the token stream or the array. Okay, there's our token stream 2. Now, in here, we will end up tossing that array into a quote section. So there's our array definition. Okay. It's actually in a block, and it gets returned here. And I think we could do for route in that. If we come back to lib, no. Here. It's basically this. And the goal here is to actually write a little loop that looks at that HTTP request, write actually a little bit more than that because this has to be a function, doesn't it? Should this be some sort of closure? I don't think it needs to be a closure. It could just be a function. Do I have to give it a name? How do we do namespacing properly in this case? Mix up the music stations. All right. Now, the other thing we have to do in here is create something that we can actually match. Or something. And so we're going to be passing those into this other function. All right. Let's start to fill this in. What is route going to take? If we look at route, what does route take? So we are generating a function. What is it? Route function? No. Here it is, wrapper name. Currently it takes nothing, but it does have segments inside of it. Let's set a marker there. So what do we want to take in for this? It would be nice if we could receive something similar to segments here. Route segments. And this is going to be a reference to graph parts segment. And this will be owned. Or not owned. This will be borrowed. Love that. Followed by what the actual router request. Now inside of here we can check, are the segment lengths the same? If they are, right, then we can go one by one through there to see if they're going to be matches. If everything matches, then it handles it and returns a response. Well, it calls the wrapped function. If. And if it doesn't match, we're going to return an OK none, saying, nope, this is a no-go. It's not an error, just didn't match. Okay. Now, once we know that the length are the same, we'll iterate over our segments, because they are going to be slightly different in that the route segments are not going to have any, where is it? It's under parts. So there's two different types. There's literal and there's argument. Okay. The request half will only ever have literal pieces because there shouldn't be like a slash colon variable name in the route piece. But inside the other half, there should, because we're compiling those at compile time. These should be determined at compile time, the argument halves or variant. For segment in the segments, and technically we have to do what is it, into iter new segments, like so. It's either that or we just use macros and unroll the loop. So we know how many there are. Hmm. Well, we'll let them unroll the loop. Can let's see. Let's actually look over here. What can we do on array? We can map each ref. Oh, that's nightly. I see. I still don't want to use these sorts of things in nightly, in case we back out of using that. Have into iterator. I didn't think that we could do this. I thought it was going to give us some sort of warning if we did that. See, we have array intuiter, and you can create a new one of these. Oh, const generics. Yay. Yeah. After into iterator is implemented for arrays. And that's fine. That'd be a very simple migration. Now, the item here is of type T. Okay. Match segment. Segment is either going to be literal or the other one. What was the other one? No, 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 not that file. Where's parts? There. Argument. Okay. Or none. Okay. Now, if this ends up matching, what do we do with the arguments? We will be providing them as parameters to a function call. So we would be calling wrapped function, then whatever the parameters are here. Actually, the request first, right? I know I keep wanting to put the other pieces first, but I think request should be first. Args. And then we return the result of that. So we need to collect these. And, well, it'd be ideal if we could collect them right away. But here we're matching. And we're inside of a quote block, right? Yeah, we are. And at compile time, we could know how many arguments there were. So we could figure that out outside of the quote block. And we could also build up this call here. All right. I imagine this is going to go through a couple of iterations. Let's get something working. So in this case, we are going to be comparing this one with the other one. Oh, you know what? We should absolutely zip these, right? Then we have both of them. Segment and route segment. Macros are always a little bit more wordy. We could use this here to be explicit. We could get rid of these here. Okay. So if those don't match, we're fine there. We have our segments actually built out at compile time, which is fantastic. And that's just all on the stack. That should be fine. All right, now if these two pieces don't match, so we're matching a segment, and then we're going to check I guess we'll have to destructure the other at the same time, or match it. There's only a couple possibilities here. So if it's a segment literal, so in this case it matches. And what do we do in this case then? Continue? Guess we do nothing, right? Because it should just continue to loop around. In all the other cases, we return none. It's so much easier writing macros when you're not relying on the compiler all the time. I've done enough Rust that I can start to see the errors before, and I catch most of the compiler errors ahead of time. Maybe not the borrow checker errors. But that really helps with the flow. All right. Now, what if we get this? We have to match. We always know it's going to be a literal. We just have to get the value out and store it somewhere. So, in fact, if it is anything else, this should probably, I'm gonna say that should be some grave error. Maybe we shouldn't be using segments for this. That makes more sense, just having a slice of stirs. Then we know what it will always be. Okay, get rid of this. Oh, you know what? That was broken before. The logic error. There was a logic error. If I sense a new presence among us. Oh, that startled me. Good morning, and thank you for the follow. Netologist, how are you? If route segment is not equal to segment literal. Now, we have our args, and we want to store that. How many of those do we need? Let's come up with an arg count. Let segment arg count. That will be equal to the sum of the filter. Okay. Segments dot iter filter